Today you have a sub. Sullivan is out with RSV. I hope to be back Thursday, but it's just going to depend on how he feels. The first thing you need to do is make sure you have your planner filled out, you have your notes, markers, pencil ready to go. You need a multiplication chart and your iPad and headphones ready to go. Next, let's just go over the rules. I expect you to follow directions quickly. Raise your hand for permission to speak. Raise your hand to get out of your seat. Please make smart choices and be respectful of your teachers and your classmates today. All right, so the first thing we're going to discuss is the expectations for today. Okay, I am not there to answer questions. I'm not, or to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but Mrs. Wells, Mr. B, Miss Schroeder, Miss Czar, whoever is in your room, you need to be on task. You need to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? So make sure that you are being a proactive learner today. You're still going to make mistakes. I expect those to be made. I'm going to respect them, inspect them, and correct them. So the lesson's going to be broken down into some different goals today. The first goal we're going to talk about is the green goal, which is I can multiply a proper fraction times a proper fraction, this one in green. And what I need you to do is I need you to write down this goal in green. What I want you to do is pause the video now, write down the goal, and then unpause the video and continue watching. I will be checking your notes when I come back, so I'm expecting all of these to be written down. So let's start and go to goal 2, which is I can multiply a proper fraction times a proper fraction. So goal 2, I believe, is right here. Okay, so let's begin. Whenever we are multiplying fractions, first we look and see if we have a number in the numerator, which we do, and the denominator, which is good. So I don't need to add any whole ones in my denominator. So what we're going to do is we multiply from left to right, or right to left. It technically doesn't matter. But we multiply the numerators together. 1 times 4 is 4. And then we take and multiply the denominators together. 6 times 8 is 48. If you get 4 over 48, you have mastered multiplying fractions. From here, we're going to simplify fractions. We're going to think, okay, what is the greatest common factor of 4 and 48? Well, if we remember what we did during our last assessment, where we had 4 and 48, we would notice that 4 goes into 48, 4 times 12, which means that 4 is the largest number that goes into both 48 and 4. So what we can technically do is divide both the numerator and the denominator by 4. Okay, sorry, my division symbols do not look very good. 4 divided by 4 is 1 whole. 48 divided by 4 is 12. So the simplified answer would be 1/12. Now let's say that you didn't realize that you could divide by 4. Maybe you thought, oh, 4 over 48. I could divide those each by 2. So let's say that you divided it by 2 instead. Numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2. That'd be 2 over 24. And then maybe you realize, oh, wait a second, I can also divide 2 and 24 by 2 again, and you eventually get to 1/12. If you can get to 1/12, you have now known how to or mastered simplifying fractions. Okay, let's try another one. You need to write down 3/5 times 2/9. Pause the video until it's done, and then start it again when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to take our numerator times our numerator. 3 times 2 is 6. Here's my equal sign. And then we have 5 times 9, which is 45. Remember, you're able to use your multiplication chart at any time. And so this is the answer if I were looking for just can you multiply fractions. From here, we would work on dividing fractions. Like, for example, oh, I know that I could divide 6 by 3 and 45 by 3. So maybe I get an answer of 2/15. 2/15. And that is already simplified. That is already simplified. So 2/15 would be the simplified version. You'll get credit for this on your test as well as this. You'll get 2 separate grades on your test. One for can I multiply fractions and one for can I simplify fractions. All right, why don't you try this one and then check back with me. So write this down, pause the video, try it, and then come back and check with me. All right, we are going to multiply the numerators together. 2 times 4 is 8. And 10 times 8 is 80. 80. If we're going to simplify this, I can realize that maybe I divide both by 8. And I'm going to get an answer of 1/10. 1/10. That's the simplified answer. Now, in some classes, we've discussed maybe simplifying before we multiply. You're totally welcome to do that. I'll probably talk more in depth on that when I come back, but something to realize is that 4/8 is actually 1/2. So if you want to simplify it first by dividing by 4 in both, you totally can. And you would get an answer of 4 divided by 4 is 1 whole. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then you would take 2 times 1, which is 2, and then 10 times 2, which is 20. That's still going to simplify out to 1/10. There's multiple ways you could simplify it. You could also simplify, your 2's here. There's a lot of different ways, but for right now, let's just worry about getting our multiplying fractions right, and then if you can, try to simplify it this way. I'll show you how to simplify before you multiply when I come back. All right, this is the last one of this kind, so go ahead and try it. Pause the video now. Try it yourself, and then check back with me. All right, we're going to take 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. And remember, you can use a multiplication chart. So there's 32 over 11 times 8 is 88. And then you could simplify by saying, oh, you know what? I know that, for example, 2 goes into both of these. So you could start dividing by 2. Is that the biggest number you could divide by? No, but it gets us started. So I have 16 and 44. Could I divide by 2 again or 4 again? Absolutely. Let's just try 2 again because a lot of times we start off just dividing by 2 when it's an even number. We get 8 over 22. And we could cut it into 2's again or simplify it by 2 again. And eventually we'd get 4 over 11. Now, 4 over 11, you might see it, this 4 over 11. Remember, this is the answer that our goal is today. This is our answer in a few weeks when we work on it. But I want you to notice something. Here's my 4 and 11. Remember how we talked about you can multiply in any order? Let's say that I put the 4 first and then multiply by 8. So I literally just flip-flop this order. But I leave the 11 the same times the 8 in the denominator. 8 over 8 is considered 1 whole. 8 over 8 is 1 whole. So if I took 4 times 1, I would get 4. And if I took 11 times 1, I'd get 11. So that's kind of a shortcut that you can use. All right, I'm going to pause the video. But first, let's go back to our goal and how confident you feel of goal 2. I can multiply a proper fraction times a proper fraction. If you feel comfortable with that, you can star that off. We'll then start on goal 3 when we return.